Hello one and all, and welcome to a new series. In this one, I'll be running through Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon on the hardest difficulty, using only Marth and Replacement Characters. Now, some of you might not be aware of what Replacement Characters are. So, basically, they're just generic units you get if you don't have enough units to fully deploy a map. So say, in battle preparations, you would normally be able to deploy 12 units, and say you only had 10. You'd get 2 free generic units that you can deploy, with stats averaged out to using class growths. They don't have any personal growths, so their growths are super low, because they're just the class growths. So they end up being pretty bad units. However, I think they're really fun to use, even if they're just faceless generics. So I decided why not make a challenge out of that. Obviously, I'm allowed to use Marth because I would be unable to complete the first 3 chapters otherwise, so I'm letting myself use Marth as well. He's not particularly good in this game, though at least he can get up to level 30. Help his stats out a bit. The only rigging I did for this map was just making sure I crit the first thief. It's not especially important, I just wanted Marth to get the 50 XP as soon as possible. Cause depending on his level ups, it makes his survival a lot easier. And thankfully, I don't have to drop everybody else's weapons off of the convoy, because in this game you can just unequip, which is really nice. I'm sending Sheeta up at the north to buy Marth time to kill this pirate, and then she'll keep baiting a couple others, though some of them will eventually lose interest because there's no way to stay out of enemy range while also keeping all of them aggroed. Honestly, that level up may look bad, it's not awful, because it does decrease the amount of hits Marth needs to kill some of the pirates. I think he does 6 damage at base, with either the Iron Sword or Rapier, because they have the same might and hit. You might want to use the Rapier against these guys, just because of the extra crit, but it's not really reliable, and I opt to save the Rapier for Gazak, because being able to crit him is actually really useful, and makes that encounter last significantly less. Now I have a prime opportunity to get the 1,000 gold, or is it 10,000? I think it's 10,000 with Marth. And yeah, so he'll have to 1v3 some pirates here, which isn't the worst odds. He gets killed in 3 hits. They have roughly a 50% chance of hitting him. So on average, 1 or 2 should land their hits on him. And he recovers HP at the start of every turn. I think forts heal 20% of your max HP. Yeah, that's what they say. So we should be getting, with generous rounding, 7 or 8 HP. Actually, no. How'd I... Yeah, no. I don't know why that... No. I'm just really bad at math. That'd be 40%, not 20. Apparently, I don't know how percentages work. Yeah, here there was no way to get all my units out of enemy range, and plus I'd prefer to keep Marth safer, because enemies will usually opt to attack someone who can't counter, even if they could kill Marth if all 3 of them ganged up on him. I think for Marth is in 1-hit range, but otherwise they'll just attack armed people, even if they can combine to kill Marth. So the AI can be exploited like that. I do try and use the Rapier use here, just because it'd be pretty nice if it does crit. It's worth going for. There's no need to really conserve the Rapier, since by the time I'm going up against a ton of cavalry, I'll have units to use by then. So that's chapter 4, I think. Yeah, Marth's chances of survival aren't the best, but you can do as much as possible to minimalize, just by getting cheeky attacks in on player phase while you have other units alive. Draug is actually really useful on this map. For the longest time, I just never used him on this map ever, because I thought he got doubled at base, but that's not the case. So his starting bulk is actually really useful. Yeah, really, it's all about buying Marth as much time as possible to heal up and get as many hits in before your time runs out. PETA may as well keep that one guy occupied, since Marth's chances of survival would go down quite significantly if there's an extra pirate attacking him. Yeah. Able dead, it buys Marth enough time to get back up to max HP. And now he does need a pretty good enemy phase set up for next turn. And unluckily, he gets hit twice out of 3. So now he has to dodge at least one attack, which he does, thankfully. But since he did get hit, he's still in 1 hit range, so while we can take out one guy, he has a roughly 50% chance of death now. Especially after his speed level, that gives him 1 of... So, I think this guy's 52 hit on him. Yeah, but at this point, Marth should be safe unless you play way too aggressively and overextend. Because the rest of the enemies you can just bait and kill off 1 or 2 at a time. Also, now that he has Sea Swords, that's basically +1 strength, at least for this map. Because at sea you get +1 attack with swords, as long as they're not using a lance, because weapon triangle disadvantage gets rid of your weapon rank bonuses. I believe the hunter moves as long as you're in 2 movements distance from him. So if he can get to you in 2 turns, he'll start moving, but otherwise he won't. So I'm just trying to play as safe as possible. Now we can start baiting him. And here I realize, oh, I've yet to go shopping. So I buy 10 iron swords, which might be a little extra. I doubt I'll need 400 iron sword uses just within the first 3 chapters, but it's always nice to be prepared. Yeah, honestly, Marth's combat on this map isn't even that bad. His base bulk is really decent, besides his HP. 7 base defense, plus using a sword against axe enemies, does make his avoid half decent on a fort. though not nearly as good as you'd hope. They still have over 50% to hit them. So routing this map using only Marth is definitely pretty luck dependent, but it's not to the point where you have to do significant rigging, I'd say. My Marth is pretty average at this point. Although once he gets to 10 speed, he does double the pirates, which is really nice. Although, I forget how much speed Gazak has, but unless you get absurdly blessed on speed, there's no way you're doubling. So I think you need to get it every level, basically, to double Gazak. Which at that point, he'd become pretty easy. But yeah, unlike Boars killing Gazak, Marth will actually fare... I mean, Boars killing the Moss, if you saw my, Chapter 1 of my Boars solo. Marth killing Gazak is a lot more reliable, especially because you get a nice Vulnerary from this village. It's actually a special Vulnerary, because you don't have to end your turn to use it. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty OP item to get, I'd say. Here he gets defense, which is actually kind of nice. So I think if he had base defense, he wouldn't be able to outpace Gazak's damage with Vulnerary uses. Although the Vulnerary you get is a little weaker than most Vulneraries, it definitely makes up for it by not ending your turn to use. Yeah, I'd say this Vulnerary is top tier, even has 20 uses. Yeah, this Vulnerary heals for 9 instead of 8. So slightly worse in terms of raw power. Yeah, I'm just using the Rapier here because with a crit, we do rack up damage. Otherwise, we kind of have to rely on him missing most of the time if we want to rack up damage. Because in that case, we'll be able to get a couple player phase shots in. Because we do out-heal his damage. But I think, again, if we had base defense, we would not be able to. And attacking him on player phase would never be safe. Does he do 17? So only go for this if your Marth gets average HP and slightly above average defense, or vice versa. Gazak isn't particularly scary, but the next two of his... they're not directly related, but I'd say they are, because they're axe users, and they suck to deal with, but with a well-trained Marth, they shouldn't be too much of an issue, but he might be harder than Gazak. We'll see. Marth gets even more defense, which is ridiculous. He has a 20% growth. And in 5 levels, he's gotten it 3 times. So I'd say my Marth, average in every other stat, but defense he's extra good in. Which, yeah, we definitely take those. Also, good job, Marth, missing the 91. So it's bound to happen. It's not that unlikely. Even missing, say, 95 isn't that unlikely. Even in 2RN. It's like a 0.5% chance. You might say, oh, what do you mean? That's super unlikely, but if you've ever played a game with 1RN, then you know 99's cannon will miss, and 1's cannon will hit. Using that knowledge, you should treat the numbers with a little more respect. not bank. Well, there's a difference between just relying on a 90 plus to hit, but then there's an over-reliance saying, if this doesn't, like, this will hit. If that makes any sense. But yeah, Gazok's dead. Then we get a worse Vulnerary. But yeah, that concludes Chapter 1. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.